Okay, so today to get started, we are not actually going to be using Photoshop. You are going to want to find Adobe Illustrator. For most of you, it should be in the toolbar. If it's not, look for it in the Finder. So Adobe Illustrator is this orange yellow icon here, the square with the A on the I. If it's not on your toolbar down here, just go to Finder and go to Applications, and it should be one of the first ones because it starts with A, and find Adobe Illustrator. You'll find this little check mark here. Open that up, and then you'll double click this one here, and the application should already open up. Okay, so here's mine open. So it looks a lot like Photoshop. It runs a little bit differently. We're going to be just talking about some of the basic things, okay? But still the same type of idea. So here we're going to go to File, to start a new document. Okay, new. All right, go ahead and name it your last name or your first name and do quote. Oops. All right, and go ahead. I'm just going to go and do, for the new document, I'm going to go web and okay. All right. So now I have a similar page. You'll notice that the background is white. Don't worry about that right now. So now what we need to do is we need to get that picture, the silhouette of whatever you're doing, we need to get that image onto our new blank page. So go to wherever you saved it, on your desktop, on your folder, and simply drag and drop. And then you can resize that. You probably want to resize it pretty big. And notice this is a little different than Photoshop where I didn't have to transform anything, Command T. This is a really good editing type of program. It's just a little different than Photoshop, okay? All right, so now I'm going to be done with this, okay? And now, don't worry about that box right there. It'll go away if it needs to. So I just clicked off the side, and as I go over top of it, that box might come back, but it's not a big deal, okay? So now what I'm going to do, just to get started so that we know what we're looking at, I want you to write your quote that you are using above here so we can see it, okay? So my quote, so what I did is I go to the T for the text. I'm going to make sure that it's black so I can see it on this white background. I'm going to click and start typing. And my quote is, an elephant never forgets. And it's a proverb, so some of yours has a some of yours has a person that quotes them. Many of yours say unknown. Just depends on what kind of quote you found, okay? So, so once your quote is put in there, now we can start actually adding it on to our silhouette, okay? So now, notice I'm not really messing with a lot of layers right now. I don't want you guys to be concerned about that. Okay, so now you are going to have to make each word in your quote a separate text box. So I'm not just going to type in here. Oops. Okay, so I got to make sure I change this to white so we can see. Okay, I don't want you to just type in here all of this in one big chunk, okay? Because that is not going to work for what we need to do. Okay, so instead what you will need to do is you'll type one word, am. Okay, so I'm going to write my first word. I'm going to do mine in all caps. You do not need to. And I'm going to go ahead and change a font to more of a like a handwritten font. And notice you can't see, like in Photoshop when we look at the fonts, you can see all of the different designs. If you want to see what they look like before you get going on it, another way you can do that is, let's see, type font. Okay, and as you click through these, you can see that the font shows up, okay? So that is another way to look at it, or just experiment, see which ones you like, which ones you don't like, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and there's one letter there. I'm going to go ahead and make this bigger, much bigger. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to click out of here. Notice I clicked this arrow key up here and I'm going to move that up. Okay, so now I'm going to pick my different words. So I'm going to press the type tool again. I'm going to put it over here. Notice I pressed in the body, it changed back to black. If you want that to change, you can just flip it like that. Oops. Help if I would spell things right. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go move on to my next one. Something's wrong with that font there. Okay, so you have to change the color up there. Okay, there we go. All right, so now I'm going to click this cursor. This is like the move tool. And I'm going to move this up here. I'll change the size of that later. Now I'm going to press my type tool again. Click on your black silhouette. Change that to white. And never click. Move it out of the way. It doesn't matter where you place this right now. You're going to change this later. Back to the type tool, excuse me. And for, oops, I didn't change it to white, so you can't see it. There we go. Forgets. Okay. And I'm going to move this. And one last time, I'm going to go ahead and add the Proverbs. So that's where this quote came from. All right. And I'm going to move that over so I can see it. I'm actually going to make this one quite a bit smaller. Okay, and notice I didn't have to highlight anything because I'm clicked on it. I know that I'm on this because this is underlined of blue. So I'm just going to move that down here for now. Okay, so now once you have that in there, go ahead and go back to that. You can go back to your select tool and we can delete that. Okay, I just press the delete button because we don't need that anymore and we don't want to forget to get rid of it later on. Okay, so now what we are going to do, we need to make these letters so that they fit inside our image, okay? So, and when I say they fit inside them, we might say, okay, I'm just going to make this bigger. Sure, you could do that, but, so if I wanted to make this bigger, you have two ways of doing that. You could go here and change the type, okay? That's going to take a little bit longer to do, so this is the way that I suggest doing it. Go ahead and click, so you just need to be on the word that you want to change. So right now I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to go to this tool here, and when I hold over it, it says Free Transform Tool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click this, and a box comes around it. Okay, so now this is going to allow me to make it bigger. If I put it over to one of the edges, it's going to allow me to turn it. Okay, and depending on your shape, you might have to turn it to fit. Okay, now another thing that we need to think about. What are the important words in your quote? Okay, and probably is the least important word in my quote. So should it be the biggest? No, it definitely should not be the biggest. So I'm going to actually make this a little smaller. And you can always change these as you guys are working, okay? So I'm just going to kind of angle it there a little bit. Now I'm going to go back over to this one. And notice I moved tools to the direct selection tool here. It's the second cursor. And now I'm going to go back here. You can also go Command E to change this. Okay, oh, I guess that's not working. Okay, so just go ahead and click this when you're ready to change it. So it makes it bigger. You can get things closer together. Make sure you're still able to read it though, okay? So I want to have enough space on the side. I don't want it to be all filled in right now because you're going to have the opportunity to move this here in a bit even more. So now I'm going to go back here and move this down. Go back to this free transform tool. I'm going to change it, okay? Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this one, free transform. I want to turn it first. All right, and I'm going to deal with this Proverbs one later. Okay, so now you guys might say, okay, well that looks pretty good. We have, you know, a good basic start here. Kind of looks like it fits in. Well, yeah, but we could even fill that shape even more. And for some of you, depending on how long your quote is, you might have to make it even smaller and you might use up all of these little spaces here, okay? So, how am I going to make this fit into every single shape? First thing I'm going to have you guys do is make sure that you're on the object you want to start with. I'm actually going to start with elephant because I think that's the most important word in my picture.